What you know, Alibiers. Welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. Good to have you here. It's finally Friday, February 27th. Let's jump into the recap of the afternoon session of Day 5 in the Kouri Richins trial. After lunch, we had a very brief witness, Anna Isabel. She knew Kouri in high school, and the state asked if she was with a man named Hayden Jeffs on January 22nd, 2022, when he received a call from Kouri that she overheard on speakerphone. And by the way, Hayden Jeffs unfortunately passed away from a motorcycle accident at some point in the last couple of years. Very sad. She heard Kouri say something about needing something for a client. It started with a T or a P, and they didn't know what it was. She went to the bathroom, and when she came back, Hayden was saying, F that client, fentanyl, what? F that. Kouri's response was, okay, thank you. On cross, did the state try to meet with you? And she said yes multiple times. The defense brings in a text between her and Detective O'Driscoll. Detective O'Driscoll messaged her and said it would make our lives easier if she just answered their calls so they could prepare her for what she would be asked at trial. He said otherwise, next time he comes to her door, he's going to have a warrant. Anna replied to him that she did not need any preparation and could just show up. She also requested the date and time she needed to be there. Detective O'Driscoll said if she had replied, they could have discussed it, but since she didn't, planned to show up every day at 8 a.m. He then tells her that the date and the time is on her subpoena, and she is legally obligated to be there on the dates and times listed. The defense has her point out that Kouri was good to Hayden Jeffs. He did work for her as a handyman, and she helped him get liability insurance and things like that. She did not personally hear Kouri ask for fentanyl. Next witness, Robert Crozier. He is the drug dealer who gave the drugs to Carmen. The state asked if he has a criminal history, and he does. He had a distribution charge in December of 2022 and 2 possession charges in 2023. He started dealing drugs in 2020, and he was dealing drugs in early 2022, and he does have an attorney. He is testifying with 3 grants of immunity from Summit County, Salt Lake County, and the federal government. In early 2022, Nicole Cummings contacted him about a friend of hers and asked if he would want to talk to her friend and get some Roxys, which are oxycodone. He said he told Nicole to give this person his number, and Carmen contacted him mostly by phone, but he said it could have been some texts. As far as he can remember, she asked for Roxys. He set up to meet her in Draper, and he only remembers meeting her once, maybe twice. He doesn't think that there was a third time. The first time he walked to the car, Carmen handed him the money, and he gave her pills. He doesn't remember if he had to go somewhere to get the pills, and he didn't remember what Carmen looked like. He said he gave her 30 to 40 pills, but he said he doesn't even know how many times he met her to do the deals. He was selling to around 3 to 4 people at this time. And after Eric's death, he was in jail and he was detoxing. He talked to investigators, but he says he doesn't remember a lot of the discussion. Did they ask you if Carmen asked for blues or fentanyl? They give him the report to read, and he said he knows they did, but he can't remember them asking him. He doesn't remember what he answered, but he thinks he didn't know if it was fentanyl or Roxy's, but whatever she asked for, she got. They asked if showing him a transcript would refresh his memory, and he said he doesn't remember what he said because he was in a rough spot at the time. By the way, this is the guy who changed his story in September of last year. Investigators asked you if Carmen asked for blues or fentanyl or oxy, and how did you respond? The slang when they were buying Roxys, they called them blues. M30s is what the Roxys are stamped with. The state says investigators clarified with you that it wasn't like she asked for oxys and got M30s. They go back and forth about this, y'all. Oxy would mean Roxy to him, and M30 would imply fentanyl. And then he says, or not fentanyl, but Roxy's. And that was back in early 2022. He keeps saying that blues didn't really catch on in the slang term until much later. However, I did a little research, and from 2019 onward, blues became a widely recognized street term for fentanyl, especially in the western U.S., and then it spread nationwide. So when he says that it was not a term that was even around in 2022, that is not correct. They asked if Carmen knew there was fentanyl in the pills that you sold her. He doesn't remember the conversation he had with police. They bring out the transcript, and did you swear to that affidavit that this was the truth? Yes. You said you sold to Carmen twice at the Maverick and Draper. He says maybe once or twice, but he doesn't remember the number of times. Do you remember saying you sold Roxy's once and then sold Blues? He says they're interchangeable. If he told somebody Blues, they were Roxy 30s. He says he's never sold OxyContin. He only sold oxycodone, Roxy 30s, which is 30 milligrams of oxycodone. They show what he signed in September of 2025 and asked if he signed that. He said, without all the corrections, yes. He said, as I was sitting in jail going over it with the defense attorney, she was crossing out OxyContin, and I would say that's oxycodone. And there were typos, and there were things that were not his words. When you were selling back in 2022, how do you know what was inside the pills? He said he was getting it from multiple people who have prescriptions. But here's the thing. Multiple people can tell you these came from the pharmacy, but you're going on their word. You have no clue what they're handing you. So whether or not they have prescriptions, it doesn't guarantee what you got came from the pharmacy. Where did you get the pills you sold to Carmen? And he doesn't know. He had a few people he was getting them from. In the affidavit he signed, it said he was arrested in May of 2023 for possessing. Selling is crossed out, but it says fentanyl. He said every time it had OxyContin, the defense would say it needed to be oxycodone, but the defense did not correct it in that document they were showing him. Is it fair to summarize your testimony? You sold to Carmen once or twice, M30s or Blues, and at the time, Blues referred to oxycodone, and he said yes. On cross, the first interview, you said you didn't remember it, but you said they were telling me what I have been doing, and you kind of agreed. He said, I didn't want to get in trouble. I was already in jail, and I was trying to bail out. They said nobody was coming after him, but he had no idea who anybody was other than Nicole. September of 2025, you were interviewed by me, and this is defense attorney Lewis, as well as their investigator. Were you sober? Yes. You said you thought you sold to Carmen twice. He said once, maybe twice. The first was Roxy 30s, which is 30 milligrams of oxycodone. He said he sold fentanyl at the same price as oxycodone, but it was less when it first hit the market. He said at one point he remembers a man being with her, doesn't know if it was the first or second time. If Carmen testified you told her I'm selling you fentanyl, would that be true? And he says, if I told her that, that would mean fentanyl. But he isn't sure he said that to her. And that just undid, to me, everything the defense was trying to do, because he cannot recall. And he admitted if he said fentanyl, that's what she got. He said everybody was scared of fentanyl in 2022. People were dying, and he just sold prescriptions of oxycodone. In early 2022, you would not be telling Carmen these are fentanyl. He said no, he did not have a source for fentanyl at that time. He said light green pills would be a different milligram. He says he told them that he was pretty sure he sold oxys and not fentanyl. He doesn't know if it legit came from a pharmacy or not. He admits that. By the way, if you go on my Twitter, I've posted pictures of the real deal pharmacy pills versus fentanyl lace pills. You cannot tell the difference. They look exactly the same. And he said nobody asked him to sell the Michael Jackson drug. There was a moment there where he was like, did I what? Seemed like a light moment just due to his reaction. But this goes on for a few minutes. In the end, the defense attorney says she wants him to look at the jury and asks, are you telling the truth here today? And he says, yes, I am. And that was it. But I have to say, if I put him and Carmen side by side, Carmen seemed way more credible, and he contradicted himself several times throughout direct and cross. It was weird, though, because this is one of those witnesses where really it's like the state was doing cross-exam and the defense was doing direct. They thought he would help out the defense in changing his story, but he was so confused even today that it was flip-flop. So we'll see. The next witness, I had to take down my live stream, by the way. I need to edit this out. An undercover cop was actually shown on screen, and the court emailed everybody who's registered to make sure we don't show his face. I'm going to edit him out for his safety, and then I will put that back up later tonight. The last witness on the stand was someone from the Salt Lake County District Attorney's Office in the Special Investigations Unit. He processed and got the data from cell phones related to the case, and he used Celebrite to do that. Once he got all that, he gave it back to the Summit County Sheriff's Office, and he did extract data from 4 different cell phones. One of those was broken, so he had to repair the screen, and he walks through how he fixed the phone. There also was water damage and debris in the phone, but he also makes clear that when you repair the phone, it doesn't change the data that's on there. So he's just really establishing the foundation for somebody that's going to come on later and testify about what was found on these phones. So maybe that'll be Monday. I really think other than Carmen Lauber, these witnesses are the ones I'm most interested in because I've always said I think a lot of things that we haven't heard are going to come out with these phone extractions. So that finished it up for the day. I'll be live streaming again Monday at 10:30. If there's anything breaking with Nancy Guthrie over the weekend, I'll let you know. If anything crazy happens, we'll do a live. But it seems like for now, it's kind of quiet, unfortunately, and we're coming up on week 4. I'm going to go spend some time on the couch with my kids watching some TV. So y'all have a good night, and we'll see you soon.